And thank you for inviting me to participate in this. I have been certainly accused of maybe being critical of the president from time to time, as many of us Republicans are sometimes. But I'd like to share a few points where we agree, the president and I. I've got a number of quotes here, and I think these quotes cross party lines and certainly indicate how important fathers are in the lives of their children. Here's a quote from our President Barack Obama. "We need fathers to realize that responsibility doesn't end at conception. We need them to realize that what makes you a man is not the ability to have a child, it's the courage to raise one." Here's another quote from our president. "I wish I had a father who was around and involved." That's a profound statement, and certainly it shows a great deal of courage by our president to say that. I remember when I was a young child, in the Cub Scouts, the Pinewood Derby came around every year. And my father and I, and my brother, we would spend a great deal of time weighing our little Pinewood Derby car to make sure that it weighed precisely 5 ounces. And we would spend all night graphiting the wheels because we wanted our little Pinewood Derby car to be the absolute fastest car that we could possibly make it. Whether we won or lost, it didn't matter. We were going to make this car as fast as we could possibly make it. And I also remember, not too long ago, my 7-year-old, who was then 6, wanted to participate in the Pinewood Derby as a Cub Scout himself. And because of that relationship I had with my father and the time that we spent involved in that project, it was a desire of my heart to be involved in his Pinewood Derby to the same extent. And I'm proud to say that when I was a child, we won the Pinewood Derby, and I'm proud to say that as Walker's dad, together we won the Pinewood Derby when he was 6 years old. And these are the things that I think are critically important in the life of a child. Some other quotes from our president. Obama has said that his hardest, but not always the most rewarding job is being a father. Or I'm sorry, the hardest, but the most rewarding is being a father. And I think that's absolutely true as well. I want to quote some statistics here. Currently, there are 24 million children in America living in a home without their biological father. The World Family Map report by Child Trends found that even when controlling for income, children who live with both parents have better educational outcomes than children living with one or no parents. Fathers play an important role in teaching children life lessons and preparing them to succeed in school and in life. Some other quotes. According to the National Fatherhood Initiative, a father's involvement in education of his children is associated with a higher probability of A's for their children. Interestingly, I remember when I was in 4th grade, there was a competition called Math Olympiads. And my dad was a mathematician, and he came from a family of mathematicians, and my dad would spend hours with me working on these math problems that were really college-level math problems, and we would go over and over these problems again and again. And I remember in 4th grade, when it came time to do Math Olympiads, there was just 5 problems. And if you could get 1 or 2 of them right, it was really tremendous for a 4th grader. And I remember at the end of the first Math Olympiad, I had 4 out of 5 correct. And it wasn't because I was smart, it wasn't because I was brilliant, had nothing to do with that at all. In fact, quite the contrary. But what it had to do with was the fact that I had a dad who was so engaged and so involved and so interested in making sure not only that I would get an A in the class, quite frankly, that was really not relevant to him. What he cared about was whether or not I learned the material. And I remember taking tests in 6th grade, and I would do the math problems entirely different than how the teacher taught, and the teacher would count it wrong. And my dad would go to the school and he would say, you know, he may have done it differently than you taught him, but he did it the way we taught at home because he's preparing for, you know, higher math in a different year. And having a dad involved in your education in that way is something that's tremendously important to me as I was growing up, and certainly now that I am a father myself, and I have a child in first, now soon to be 2nd grade, and of course other children on the way that are entering kindergarten and a 1-year-old at home. These are areas where it's important for me, and there's a generational trend When a child has that impact from their father, certainly it's an impact on them that they want to have on their own children. And so that's why it's so important for fathers to be involved in the lives of their children. That's my personal experience. Children with involved fathers are more likely to do well in school. They have a better sense of well-being. They have fewer behavioral problems. When fathers are actively involved in the upbringing of their children, the children demonstrate greater self-control and a greater ability to take initiative. Along with Father's Day this June, we'll also bring an important announcement. The Supreme Court's much-anticipated ruling on both the Defense of Marriage Act and Proposition 8. These cases have put the national spotlight on this issue in a new way and provide an opportunity for Americans to discuss the question, what is marriage? Marriage exists to bring a man and a woman together as husband and wife, to be a father and a mother to children. And the institution of marriage is intended for life. And this is very important when it comes to the rearing of children. A few more statistics. In 2012, about 1/3 of all children lived in families where without their biological father present. According to some estimates, as many as 50% of children who are currently under age 18 will spend or have spent a significant portion of their childhood in a home without their biological father. Research indicates that children raised in single-parent families are more likely than children raised in two-parent families with both biological parents to do poorly in school, have emotional and behavioral problems, become teenage parents, and have poverty-level incomes. In 2011, the poverty rate for children living in homes without a father was 48%, compared to 11% for children living with married couple families. Single-parent families are more likely to be poor than two-parent families, especially if the lone parent is the mother. That's why it's so important for fathers, and that's why I commend the President when he talks about the importance of fathers. Here's a final quote from our President. As fathers, we need to be involved in our children's lives, not just when it's convenient or easy, and not just when they're doing well, but when it's difficult and thankless, and they're struggling. That's when they need us most. And with that, I thank the gentlelady from Missouri, and I yield back.